Okay, guys, we'll go ahead and get started. I want to thank everybody for joining us. I also obviously want to thank all of our guests for making time today. This is our second webinar in the last couple of weeks that we've done, and I would be remiss if I didn't thank Kathy Leggett. Kathy Leggett is, among other things, our Future Ready Iowa coordinator, and she's on here as a panelist today as well. It's pretty weird. There's not many times where if we get a guest on for our podcast or something we're doing that they don't come through Kathy, or they want to talk to Kathy, or I have to remind them we're not all here to see Kathy all the time. So we're lucky to have Kathy. So thank you to all the guests for joining us. And the goal with today's webinar is to provide an opportunity to share some successful models of summer youth internships implemented by community-based organizations and schools. And like I say, last Thursday was the first one that Kathy put together. This is today, and I'm kind of help moderating it. My name is Ryan West. I'm the deputy director with Iowa Workforce. Who are running a successful youth internship program. It was a great one. If you didn't see that, go back and check that out. That's on our website. We'll talk about that as we get through some of this. Kathy can do some of the house cleaning. Kathy, the format, Kathy will briefly share a couple of slides about Future Ready Iowa, the initiatives and things that help connect some of the pieces there. Then we'll go through and have the panelists introduce themselves, and we'll go through the series of questions, and we'll just kind of go through and that's really what this is about, is hearing their input. So that our guests can, our folks joining the webinar can see how they're doing it. The one thing we've really learned is it's one thing if we talk about this, but with folks like this on, when they say it, it's a whole nother ball game for folks.
Yeah.
And so I'll work the slides. Kathy, if you want to get started, I'll go ahead and go to the first one.
Sure. Yep.
And then we'll do introductions for the guests. Okay,
yeah. So well, yep. So welcome everybody. Thanks for joining us. As Ryan said, our second go at this panel series, and I'm excited for the folks we have today. I can't, those of you who know me, I can't start a Future Ready Iowa related thing without talking about the initiative a little bit. Some of you are maybe new, and that's why I always want to talk about it just a little bit to give you context. First, just to give you a look ahead to, here we are on the 12th, and we're talking, just as Ryan said, with Summer Youth Internship. The 2 weeks from now, we have accelerated training modules, number 1 and number 2. We had so many great examples of different creative accelerated training models that people have done, like piloted and then continued to do because they've had great success, that I want folks from all across the state to be able to share their models. And then for those of you out there to see all the different ways this amazing work is being done. Really cool things you need to know about. Those are things that maybe don't fit a category, but are so cool and are related to education, training, workforce, and Future Ready Iowa. So continue to tune in, please, every other week. So go ahead, switch it, Ryan. And here's, okay, so just a reminder, Future Ready Iowa, our goal is that 70% of Iowans in the workforce have education and training beyond high school by 2025. And there are 5 strategies that Future Ready Iowa encompasses. Funding, like the Last Dollar Scholarship, and funding for summer youth internships, which these programs have received and are receiving again, I believe. We address barriers. There are barriers for people getting education and training, and we want to address those. Work-based learning, again, internships, a great example. 21st century skills, those critical thinking, problem solving, communication, teamwork, critical to everyone who's in our workforce. And that Future Ready Iowa is a grassroots initiative. So it takes shape in communities and regions and counties based on what your needs are and who your partners are and all of those things, but great things are created. So go ahead and flip it over. Ryan, thanks. Why Future Ready Iowa? It's projected that 68% of the jobs in Iowa will require education and training beyond high school by 2025. And remember, that could be a diploma, a certificate, a registered apprenticeship, internship, some sort of short-term training. It could be an associate's degree, a 4-year degree, that we have a complete continuum here in Iowa. So there's something for everyone. We want to close the skills gap, which I'll talk about in just a minute, and we want to align education and workforce to meet the needs that we have in the state. So real quick on the skills gap, when I get to talk to people all across the state, I feel like, this is something I wasn't aware of until I had this position, that we have a pretty big skills gap in Iowa in the jobs that require up to a 2-year degree. Some sort of education and training that is up to a 2-year degree. I mentioned a bunch of those just a moment ago. You can see here that 52% of our jobs in Iowa, that's what is required. And go ahead and switch over, Ryan. And then this shows us that only 33% of our workforce has that education and training up to a 2-year degree in those jobs that we have a lot of in Iowa. So that's the gap that we really want to close, is up to that 2-year degree. Now, certainly have plenty of high demand jobs that require a 4-year degree and beyond. So there's no shortage of high demand occupations and opportunities for you, no matter where your interests lie here. Okay, go ahead, Ryan. One more thing that I think these internships and other projects do so well is help address what we find here when Iowa Workforce Development surveys employers across the state. A lot of times the feedback we get is like this one on the top. The question is, do you just not have enough applicants, or do you have enough applicants, but they don't have the qualifications you need? 56% in our last survey have enough applicants. They don't have the qualifications that the employer is looking for. So all of these efforts that we all work together on are going to help connect that education and employment so that we can meet that demand and people can have really great career opportunities. Go ahead and flip it over, Ryan. And one more thing I think that I want to say is one of our goals with these two is to encourage any organization, employer, anyone to consider youth internship opportunities. Sometimes there are a lot of barriers that you think before you even know, liability, how do I get them? How do I set it up? All of these things. And that's really was our goal with the 2 weeks ago. And now is to say, you know what, there is a way that you can try this and high likelihood that you can be successful, and it will be a benefit for the youth and for your company. And today we have these great examples of an organization that kind of fills in a lot of that work for employers to then be part of. Last time you heard employers, they were doing it themselves. They're recruiting them, they're hiring them, they're doing this. These are 3 examples of community-based or education organizations that are facilitating that because they have access to the students, and then they build employer relationships. And then that's how you as an employer can have a pipeline to get some interns and hopefully some potential workers and then help out the students. So I'm going to stop there, and Ryan, turn it over to you.
Okay, thanks, Kathy. So obviously now we're going to get into introductions. Before we do that, just a couple things. If you have questions, you can put those into chat. We're going to try to answer those as we go. If not, we'll address those. We have a hard deadline for our guests. At 1, we want to obviously stay within that parameter. So if we don't get to that, we will get those answered and get them back out to you. This will also, it is being recorded. It will be put back up on our website. Just head over to Future Ready Iowa. All of these will be. So let's get into the real bulk of this. And that is, of course, introducing our panelists. Some of these slides are one per entity. Others will have a combination. You'll just kind of see that as we go. A lot of verbiage on some of these, but we'll let our guests introduce themselves. First, we have Kara Cool-Trade. Kara, welcome. Tell everybody where you're at and how long you've been doing it. Just a little introduction about yourself.
Well, thank you, Ryan. And thank you to Kathy, because Kathy has been awesome to work with throughout our processes. So I wanted to say that. My name is Kara Cool-Trade, and I serve as the Executive Director for Career Advantage Southwest Iowa. We are a 501c3, so we're a standalone nonprofit organization, and we work, like the slide says, we work with youth ages approximately 15 to 24, and we work within school districts. We work in 8 school districts in Southwest Iowa. Our main office is located in Council Bluffs, but we serve schools all in the surrounding region. So a lot of rural school districts we're working with and bringing access to those areas of our state. And we provide holistic, long-term, individualized mentoring and coaching, and it's largely focused on career development specifically. And then connecting these students with potential employers and jobs that they might want to go into. And so running an internship program is a key critical piece of our organization. We've been around for only 3 years, so we're still relatively new. We are the brainchild of many folks in our area. Some people from Omaha area are doing this work. We are kind of a replica model of them. I've been the executive director ever since we were founded. And prior to this, I worked at Iowa Western Community College. So I have some education or background in higher education, which is really nice because like Kathy was saying, you know, we're really working in a space where these careers require two years of post-secondary education and training or less. So some of our students are graduating high school with that certificate and diploma and then going straight into the workforce. Some of them we support while they're at Iowa Western. That's the community college where our students do attend afterwards. We also are a scholarship program for our students. So we fundraise for the money in order to support them while they're attending the community college. So that's a lot of information for an introduction, but I think it might be a good start.
No, that's great. Wealth of information. Obviously, congratulations on your guys' success in just 3 years. And thank you for using the program. And we're happy to have you. Great stuff. Excited to hear what you have to say. Okay, next we have, sorry. There we go. Next, we have Jolene Rogers. And talking to Jolene before, I knew we'd talked somewhere before and she's obviously with Iowa Lakes Community College. Jolene, welcome. Thank you for making time. Introduce yourself and tell us what's going on.
Thanks so much. And I've got to get on the bandwagon. It is a pleasure to work with Kathy. And it's so fun if you can get her to your campus so that she can meet the people that we work with. That's even better. So we get to see that joy and those connections, but it's really fun to share that information with others as well. So been at the college a little over 20 years. And in my current position, workforce training, economic development. I work a lot with businesses, so I hear about their woes about can't find employees. And yeah, we do a lot of contract training. So they're skilling up their own, which is great, but it's nice to have new infused into your organization so you can continue to grow your processes and make it the improvements the way you want to, because you'll get fresh eyes on that information. So was fortunate enough to work with the employers to put together a project that really focused on those high school students. What are you going to do with your life, right? You're trying to get that figured out, because we see that as a great pipeline for our 5-county area. So we used all of those students, and then they're able to go on to the university at that point with our first project last year. And then we had a wonderful opportunity to place students and things that way. So there's not a shortage of folks that are willing, but it's getting them connected with, they don't know what the jobs are, the students. We found that disconnect, and we try to identify and kind of problem solve that position little piece to begin with our first project. So that has helped us and helped continue the growth and the focus for the project that we did last year and what we developed for this year. So short and sweet.
Yeah. Yeah, no, great stuff. Thank you for making time. And it's
My
we
pleasure.
do this all the time. Sometimes I think it's just as maybe more important for kids to figure out what they don't want to do versus what they
Right.
want to do well. And I think these programs can
agree.
help do that, right? And it
I
just saves
agree.
time and money down the road. So great stuff. So looking forward to hearing what you have to say. Last but not least, we have our third panelist, Jill Janes. Jill, nice to meet you. I don't know if we've met before. Thank you for making time and coming on. Excited to hear what you have to say. Where are you at? What's going on? And obviously Boone Community School District, but give us the scoop.
Sure. My name is Jill Janes. I am Director of Innovative Learning for Boone Schools, which is a title that says I do a lot, I guess. It can be a lot, duties assigned, but title that probably previously would have been Curriculum Director. But when we think about what it takes to help our students be prepared for post-secondary opportunities in any walk of life, that takes some innovation. So, and not just your typical traditional curriculum as a textbook kind of approach. So with that in mind, our district is not overly large. We're a medium-sized district for Iowa with 2,000 students in grades K-12. But in 2017, we launched a work-based learning program we call EDGE, Empowering Desire, Guiding Experience. And the vision for that program, it's been really fun to see that really come to life in the last 5 years, in that we really do see that as K-12 efforts in work-based learning and preparing kids to be post-secondary ready. And we see that as something that every kid needs. And so our approach is it might include job shadows. It might include, some self-awareness and building soft skills and employability skills. And those things start really young in our elementary schools and through authentic projects and ways that we can connect with community members and businesses, and then build as students get into middle grades and they explore things and go a little bit deeper with those authentic projects and start planning out kind of what they want to explore when they're in high school, so that in high school we can help students access opportunities in apprenticeship and pre-apprenticeship, internships, more job shadows, more authentic projects that really maybe are year-long efforts or multi-year efforts to connect with community partners and really explore marketing or video design or whatever it might be that the students are into. So it's just been really fun to see the program actually become that vision that we have, where we now have teachers K-12 that are working to integrate authentic learning, and business partners just coming to us instead of us trying to explain what we're doing. Work-based learning has really caught on here in Iowa. And I know that's kudos to Kathy and the Future Ready Iowa team and all the others out there trying to do this work.
Yeah, well, great stuff. Congratulations. I remember when Edge, it's hard to believe it's already been 5 years. Where does time go? Crazy. It's just crazy how fast it goes. But, Boone always sticks out as kind of innovative in doing these things. So congratulations to what you guys are doing. And it's great to have the work-based learning perspective on here. It's funny, you can tell with you three, and quick plug, sorry, Kathy, for our podcast, Mission Employable, all of the guests that come on are doing these innovative things. Everybody that's doing these things, everyone is willing to share these ideas and what's working. And there's a common theme there that probably isn't talked about enough with all you guys. But we have people, employers, that we will give you our blueprint. We will show you what we're doing. So that's another outlet after this. Again, selfish plug, please download and listen, but you're going to hear a lot of great things that are going on, and you can steal some of those ideas. So great stuff. So Jill, thank you for making time, and thank you for being willing to share what you guys are doing. I think next, Kathy, if you're okay, we'll jump into the first question then. Okay. All right. So we're going to start with the why. And this is a good example where we have kind of everybody listed on here, but we'll just go through and let them explain. So we'll come back up and start at the top, Kara. And why did you guys get started with this? Give us kind of the background on that, if you don't mind.
Well, sure. I think it's been mentioned a number of times is that there's great concern about a worker shortage that everyone's facing statewide, and that's not lost over here on us in Southwest Iowa. And so big part of it is that, you may have heard of the phrase before, but it's called brain drain. And that's where local talent or your talent moves out of your area to pursue opportunities elsewhere. And so we talk about that, a lot over here about how students are leaving our portion, our region of the state, and moving to opportunities outside of our area. And we have a worker shortage already in our area. So our organization really thought this would be a good area for us to focus on, is connecting these students and being, we want to bridge the gap between the education of our students, in the more traditional K-12 sector as to business world, and educating them in the earn while you learn, and the worker and work-based learning area. So that really is where we came from, was addressing this brain drain. So working with these high school students to give them internships, pre-apprenticeships, or apprenticeship opportunities where they can get that real life hands-on experience, and where we can support our local businesses right here in our area to give them a talent pipeline, for future employees. And not only that, but future employees that have adults in their life that are supporting them as they move through this really vulnerable space in time, right? Leaving high school and then leaving high school is very vulnerable. And so we have coaches on our staff, and they work with them all throughout the life cycle that a student is in Career Advantage, and supporting them along the way with that, the hard skills, but also the soft skills, the life skills that these kids are going to need. And I think that we always tell our business partners, it's mutually beneficial because the student is getting this work-based learning, but as the business partner, you also have our support too, so that we can intervene when necessary. If there are those needs with the student that they're hosting, there's always someone there from our organization able to provide that support. So really opportunities for students, but really trying to support our local businesses and bridging that gap between education and the business world.
Yeah, great to hear. I mean, that's the whole community, the WIOA format, if everybody's familiar with that, with WIOA, as we call it, where the community gets together and solves these issues. So great stuff. So Jolene, how about you? How'd you guys get into it? You got some good experiences there. You've seen a lot of different things, as this has evolved over the last several years. What are your thoughts?
Has. So this past year, we focused on those essential skills that they're anything but easy or soft. They're really those essential skills. So we kind of started with that and built our program based on what we heard from all the employers that we work with in our region. And we really saw that opportunity to retain students that maybe plan to go directly to work. And maybe with the pandemic, they've been a little bit disengaged with the online learning and things like that. And then the uncertainty this past year about are they going to be face-to-face or whatever. So this was really a nice opportunity and we targeted high school students that were finishing their 9th grade year, so freshmen, through those graduating high school seniors. So that was our first group that way. And we really introduced a lot of the career coaching. So each of the students did 12 hours of career coaching. So that was really focused on professionalism, being prepared to have that great communication, and the networking. That's been kind of lost over the years. Even our college students don't have a really good feel for that when they're our college students. So we thought, let's start younger and get them going. And it's so true that career pathways as adults, I don't know if you're in the job that you thought you were going to be when you were in high school, but I didn't pick working at a community college as my life goal. I'm glad I landed here, but boy, along the way, I need to know what area, I need to be focusing on, what I enjoy doing. So through that career coaching process, it really helped the students discover their passion and their joy, what they really enjoy doing, whether it's working with people or animals, alone, inside, outside, whatever that was. And then we looked for positions in the community that would take those students interns, and going down to that age level, the 14, 15-year-olds through the 18, 19 years old, they were a little hesitant. In those that had to have 18-year-old students, not a problem, but they found positions for these younger students. And that was really impactful too. So the why is, why do I know what I want? Why do I need to know that the cost of college? Do I need to know a little bit more about my career path? I definitely need to have a little bit better focus. And same way, if that's not where I'm going to go, what better way to find out is with a 6-week or a 12-week internship to say, yeah, this isn't for me. Can you replace me something else? That way. So that's what we really look to find that process. And if they're going to go off to college, we want to make sure that they know why it's important to come back and work locally, because we need you here in Northwest Iowa.
Yeah, well said. That explains what you do want to do versus what you don't want to do a lot more eloquently than I said. And by the way, there's no way in hell I thought I'd ever be at IWD. But here we are almost 15 years later. So there you go.
Right, exactly. Exactly.
So well said. Okay.
Thanks.
So last but not least on this one, Jill, I feel like, the high schools, the districts, obviously, you've forgotten more about this than I'll ever know, but it feels like some are just real ahead of the curve, and it feels like Boone's always kind of been there. How did you guys get into this? What kind of pushed you going back to even 2017 with the EDGE program? What are your thoughts around all that? When you guys kind of really got started in this?
Oh, well, that's a loaded question. So I long time on that one. EDGE was really came out of, we had a few business partners who had maybe worked with a student here or there and had successes, or some programs within our school in STEM that were being successful. And we just felt like we could more systemically grow that. And then it really has become a part of our overall vision and goals as a whole school district and community. And so it started small with some key community members, but it has just really snowballed into a much larger effort that is really, again, like I say, part of our overall vision and our community vision for how we sustain our community and support our community and help our kids feel rooted in that and supported right here. So I could go for a long time on that one, but summer internship in particular was not necessarily something that was on our radar to begin with. I mean, schools, we kind of pretty sparse around here in the summertime. Kids are off and teachers are off, but there's definitely a need to fulfill there. And we had seen success with pre-apprentices with students doing school year internships. And one of our economic development partners approached us, the chamber, and said, hey, I saw this grant opportunity. Is that something that you guys are thinking about? Let's work together. I have some businesses I think would be interested in coming to the table. So last summer in 2021, or I guess last spring, we started thinking, well, what could that look like, and which employers might be interested in this, and how could we really target some kids that, specifically seniors, who we knew were going to graduate, but maybe we didn't want to get lost in the shuffle after graduation, that intended to go right into the workforce, and some juniors as well. But we really landed more in that sweet spot of graduating seniors and helping kind of make that handoff to employers, and just found it was a nice extension of what we already had in place for work-based learning, and really well received, as we'll talk about later, and we'll continue to grow this summer.
Yeah, great stuff. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I'm very intrigued to hear what you have to say down the road too, because we can quite honestly use some of that when we get questions, and you guys use you guys as an example of how it works. So great stuff. So that kind of leads us into we get into the guts of this. We'll come back to the top, and we don't always have to follow that format, but just to kind of keep some symmetry going. Kara, if you want to talk about kind of the structure, the model you guys use to put together. I know you guys could probably spend a lot of time on this one, but that's an important part of this as we get into the guts of all this works for you guys.
Sure. So it's interesting because the first year that we were established in 2019, and we started working with students that fall, and then in the spring, everything shut down. And so we had placed a lot of students for the summer of 2020 in our internship model right out of the gate like that. And then most of the employers said, oh, sorry, COVID, we can't take anyone. And we understood, obviously, that was such an interesting time. But so then last summer, we did end up hosting 9 interns in our first summer, which was nice, but we got the door slammed on a few of them because of everything. Then last summer, we placed 54 students with 46 business partners. And like the slide says, our model runs 8 weeks, and we work with our business partners to make sure that those dates do work with them. And it's a minimum of 10 hours a week, which is a very low minimum. But part of that is funding, right? Because all of our internships are required to be paid. Part of our organization's mission is to really help uplift students out of maybe poverty or low income situations. And oftentimes students that are in our program are supporting their family at home financially. And they might come from one parent, or they might be raising their siblings. They might be working to help pay the bills in their home, even during high school. Yep. And so we did say, part of our mission is gainful employment for our students and helping them set themselves up for success after high school. And they need to understand finances and start learning about it. And so part of our organization is really to educate the students on being financially responsible. So all of our positions are paid, which then goes back to the 10 hours per week, because when we partner with businesses, we do say we expect all of our students to be paid. And so some students are working that 10 hours because that's what's more affordable for the business. But we have a number of students that are actually working more between 20 and 30 hours, which is wonderful. And that's such a commitment on the business partners side. And also we're able to use some grant funding for that as well to support some of our businesses, which was huge because that opened the door to more students being able to participate in the program. And we've almost completely doubled in size for this summer, just after last summer, which I'll talk about a little bit later, but that's the basics of our model.
Yeah, well, great stuff. I mean, you've made it through the COVID stuff. So I forget about that. Your 3 years is really kind of right when that started. So what an interesting way to get going in all of this, but you're obviously making it work. So great stuff. Okay, Jolene, back to you. How did you guys put your guys' model together? I mean, I'm always curious with the community colleges, obviously, if you kind of steal and look at what others are doing or what works just based on what's in the community.
I like to think I'm innovative. I don't know if that's how Kathy would just describe me as being innovative or not.
Even
but
better. Yeah.
Anyway. So I did stint or whatever you want to call it in the grants office here at the college. And it was all about putting the right people together on your development team. Throwing out that question is, how are we going to help our employers fill those positions, not only just right now, but in the future, so we have that sustainable pipeline. That's what we want to build. As our students graduate high school, graduate the college, we'd like to keep as many as we can here working in those, again, middle skill jobs. That's critical to economic development for the region. So we pulled together some of our employers that have been really active in the Future Ready Iowa summits that we've been holding. So we tied it in with that. And we used the last dollar scholarship approved programs, and we tailored it towards that. So the job that we asked employers to fill really needed to align with that. And obviously, if they take a younger student, it's a little longer commitment, but we really let that drive our project to get them started. And so based on that, we used high school partnership staff. We used our pathway navigators that help with those short-term programs, as well as helped retain our college students that are a little more in need more of those career coaching opportunities. So we used a couple of them on the development team, and then marketing. So we wanted to make it as real life as possible. And with wages up here, they're still going through a few things, but we chose the wage, and we offered $15 an hour jobs. And then we helped our money go further by and the employers that participated, they got reimbursed half. So the employers paid the students. Then they turned in the timesheets and things that way. And then we reimbursed the employers for half of that student's wages. So that worked really well, and our funds went a lot further. We had some funds in our project that if the students needed to, say they were going to work in a welding program or welding job, and the student says, yeah, I had welding in high school. Well, we don't want to get that student lined up with that employer if we don't vet a little bit of those skills, right? So we have a welding inspector on campus. So those students went through and they tested them to make sure that if they said they could weld this, they could weld that, and it would be acceptable to the employer. The employer still vetted them, but at least we were more confident in placing those students in those areas. So we did some short-term skill programs if they needed them as remediation. So that was another kind of unique piece about our program as we got them going. And we really looked at those kinds of things. We used grant funds to purchase uniforms. So when the students went to work, it truly was a work experience. They wore their career ready intern shirt to work. They got to pick the style that they best liked. We had some male and some female things, a little looser fitting, tighter fitting, whatever they were comfortable wearing. They got to pick the style that they liked and were comfortable in. And that let any customers, if we had folks in the accounting department or purchasing or whatever they were working in, they knew, other employees knew that, oh, this is our intern. So, treat them nicely. And they got to see a lot of different jobs being done at that facility as well that they may have never thought about. And then at the end, they had to complete a career plan. If I start here, where do I want to go? And they had to complete that education plan so that they got to know that, well, my mom and dad have been telling me I need to go to get that 4-year degree. Well, do you? If that's, you want to be an engineer, yes, you do. But if you want to be an engineer tech, maybe you can do that with a 2-year degree and some specialized training. So that's kind of how our program was modeled. We had 70 students apply, and we only were able to place 30. So we didn't have enough businesses in that short of time period. So that was something that we learned. And for this project that we just were awarded here for this summer, it was, we got the people first, and we started getting calls about November. Are you going to do that again? Are you going to do that again? I said, well, what's the need? How can we change it? Because we had more students than businesses. So help us with that piece. So we scaled back for this project, this year's summer's project, to really focus on those high school seniors that are graduating and do not their intent today is to not go to college. Well, I'm hoping the parents said, well, you're not going to lay on the couch all summer, right? You're going to get to work. So we've got 20, we wanted to serve 20. We have 24 that have applied, and they're starting that process. They had their real colors class Tuesday night to get that training and some communication skills. And we have 33 positions right now. So we've got plenty of positions for those students. And again, all those last dollar scholarship areas, I think that's important to keep those credential pieces moving forward. And that's kind of how we've structured it. 10 hours is the minimum. 30 hours was the maximum last year. We did have a couple students work 40 hours. This year, we're just pretty much telling them it can be like 20 to 40 hours a week. If you're going to be not going to college, you probably want to work, right? So you can do that, and that'll be worked out with the employer at the end. So we planned for pretty much 30 to 40 hours when we put our budget together. So we'll see how far the funds go. And we let the businesses know that the priority will be for awarding. So if we still get some more students that fit the bill, then these students will be funded first. And then as we go, maybe they'll hire them without the supplemental, right? Without getting reimbursed, because they need workers. And these are high school students that are graduating and really think they're ready to go to work. So they get to try them out. So we'll see how that goes. So I'm excited for this summer to come as well.
Yeah, great stuff. I mean, a lot of detail there. And so our folks who are listening into this one, and you hear some of these responses, don't let that scare you off.
Right.
I mean, there's some upfront work, but in the end, the outcomes are so tremendous. So it's just part of the process in this, and it's constantly evolving and changing. It sounds like at times too. So
Yeah.
innovative is definitely the key word there, Jolene, that's for
So,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah. Anything else you want to add there? Okay. All right. So we'll come to you next then, Jill. Thoughts on how you guys were able to put yours together, or just anything in general you want to share?
Sure. We really tried to work with our employers last summer and this summer as well, to say their internship model needed to be 6 weeks long as far as the internship went. But if they wanted to keep the student, or some of them, many were graduated seniors, if they would like to keep them on their payroll after that, that's fine. But really at the end of the 6 weeks, that was the upfront commitment for the student and for the partner. Minimum of 20 hours a week, but they could work more, and they could decide what those hours look like. So we have one employer who Lane Trailers does welding and manufactures trailers. And so they run a 4-day work week at their shop. And so they wanted, 2 10-hour days for the students. That's fine. Others worked half days, and some would work, a Monday, Wednesday, Friday type schedule. So we let the employers determine what would work best for them for their schedules. And we told the kids that up front, but that they would work a minimum of 20 hours. And if they wanted more hours, they could talk to their employer about that. And we use our grant funds to reimburse the 20 hours a week up to 6 weeks for employers, because they put the student on their payroll. We thought it was important for students to fill out payroll application and all the paperwork, because that's a life skill as well. So doing that gave them another experience that maybe they don't get during a school year internship if it's unpaid and they're taking it for credits through our school. This was just a little bit different model that gave them that experience too. And then it made it easy for the partners to keep them on payroll if they wanted to, or if not, again, that commitment was really just for the 6 weeks. We also let employers choose what that wage was. We said we would reimburse up to $15 an hour, but we felt it was important for the employer to set the wage because it needed to match industry standard. We didn't want them to pay kids more than they would pay somebody else that was, applying for a summer job or an opportunity that would do similar work in their business. And we felt that they know what the industry standard is, and so they should get to set that. What was interesting is one employer chose to start at $12 an hour, but said secretly we want to move them up to 15, but we think it's important to reward hard work, and we'd like to be able to do that for them throughout the summer. So we're coming in saying $12 an hour, and that's all we need to, you to expect to reimburse in this project, but we want to be able to reward those students. And so there were other employers who said we want to pay and have them work more hours with us. And I think just being flexible with our employers was a key part of that, so that they could make it fit what really does fit their industry and their industry needs. And I think that's why some of them were very successful in keeping kids that were those graduated seniors on with them, because they did find that right match and they gave them a reasonable outlook of what working for that company would be, and it worked.
Well, I totally agree. Great information there. And it's a great marketing ploy. Like we're giving you a raise already. You know what I mean? I mean, you can use that to your advantage. So great stuff. Great information. Okay. So we got like 8 questions left. And so as we go through these, you guys are a wealth of information. I think what we're going to have to do is kind of, in order to get through as many of these as we can, is just kind of go 1 minute, if so, speed round. I know that sounds bad, but I guess this is just a testament to how much information you guys are to share. So let's go to this. So this is a single profile PowerPoint, if you will. So we're back for Career Advantage. So, Kara, what do you think with the key steps to creating the program and kind of the speed round, if you will?
Happy to do speed round, lightning round.
Okay. Lightning round, yeah.
Lightning round.
Yeah.
So on the slide, I think because Ryan and the folks will share all of this, you can check out what the
Yes.
rest of the things I said, but relationships are of the utmost importance, and you have to be super respectful of the folks that you're bringing in. We're talking about young people here, young folks here. They have not had life experiences. And so sometimes there are challenges with matching these students up and getting them into jobs. And I mean, I feel like I'm preaching to the choir. You guys all know these kinds of things. So relationships is the number one. And like Ryan said, it's constantly evolving and changing, which is why we actually appointed a staff member specifically to facilitate our program. And I would say that's probably the number one thing, because it ties into the relationships, because we have one point of contact for everyone. It's a lot of work for her, but because we have one point of contact, that's very helpful for the business partners and our school districts. I mean, we have 8 school districts who are all on different calendars, schedules, and so forth. And so having one point of contact has been, I think, very helpful. While she sometimes is just a bit overwhelmed, she's doing a great job.
Yeah, great stuff. I totally agree that we're moving more into that with work-based learning and registered apprenticeship. That's becoming the norm, I think. So I totally agree with you there. Great stuff. Jolene, what are your thoughts here? Let me get on the right slide.
I think I skipped ahead a little bit. So I'm not going to talk a lot about this slide, but I'm going to tell you about one of the jobs that we had was Belen Rodriguez. She worked at one of our big manufacturing plants, and she worked in the HR department, right? So she worked with a high school instructor, Spanish teacher, that worked with her as well, and the HR department to translate forms, all the forms they had to have, and she worked as a little bit of a translator for those new employees being hired. So she got to see that whole operation of onboarding applicants to selection, to the interview process, and she was able to do some translation and get into those form pieces. So she had a great opportunity, and she, if you can see it, a 10th grader. She had completed sophomore year. And so what a great opportunity for her. And I know if she's interested, she won't have to go through this process. I know they'd hire her for another summer and keep her on if they could. So what you're seeing is kind of a program. We took pictures of our students, so that was important. She's in one of her outfits, one of her shirts. And then we put them on social media so that their friends and family could see that, and other businesses got to see that. So that's helped drive the conversation to have more and more opportunities throughout the academic maybe year. Those are the seeds that we're sowing so that we can have this onboarding all year round. Maybe a student that doesn't play football or whatever, doesn't do a fall sport, can do that. Summer's busy for a lot of students, but let's get as many as we can with an employment experience of some kind. So that's all I could tell you about that.
Yeah, great stuff. Completely agree with all of that. Joe, what are your guys' thoughts for steps that you guys for the program?
Well, again, though, it's on the slide is a lot of what I spoke to earlier. I definitely agree with Jolene. Social media and promoting all the kids that are doing these amazing experiences, it just, snowballs and feeds your recruitment so that we don't have to do much recruiting. The kids, their parents send the kids to us and say, we think that this is something, my mom says I need to try this, that kind of thing. And that same thing with the businesses. But I do also agree with Kara that having an appointed person to do, to help facilitate that as the one point of contact throughout the summer is important, or whatever, whenever you're doing this work. We have an EDGE director, and so we have some additional time built in for her to help coordinate these flexibly throughout the summer, because you do just kind of need that point of contact when, as we said, they're young kids. So even though they may be 18 and graduated from high school, they might not show up for work one day, and then you kind of need somebody to swoop in and help facilitate that process and kind of be there. Again, it's a trial period, and understanding that and helping give the kids that support, I think it's important and a key to that. And then I do think it's important to be flexible and work with your business partners to meet their needs. I can't say that enough, because that I think brings them back to you, and it also gives a realistic picture of what their employment is like. Because if we had it so structured that everything needed to run in the same way across industries, that wouldn't really be realistic for our students and their experience either.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that's dead on. And for our folks listening, our participants listening, those are some of the best key things you're going to hear about all of these programs. Let's stay with you, Jill, and talk about the, program costs, there's outcomes. Talk about costs, Jill. What did, I know you got it on there, but anything else you want to add to that? And we'll go back up this time.
No, I mean, we really tried to run it, aside from a few additional days for our, or some additional hours for our coordinator, who typically has a school year contract. We really tried to just think about how we could run this using grant funds and having those flow through us to reimburse wages and a little bit of transportation for some of the employers that were outside of our local community. But we really just focused on, it doesn't have to cost a lot. It doesn't have to have a lot of overhead. It's just, how do we help get these students these experiences? And, partners loved the grant funds to be able to reimburse some wages, because then it really was a true trial period for them. And they truly could walk away, or the student could walk away with no burnt bridges, no hurt feelings. It was 6 weeks that, everybody got an experience out of at the minimum, and with little cost.
Yeah, it's a win-win all the way around. Completely. We hear that almost every time with these, how that comes together. Jolene, what are your thoughts there?
Yep, same way, it's pretty economical. Students got paid $15 an hour, but it really cost the company $7.50. So that was an easy sell for them to do that, and they were willing to take the risk for that piece. And with all the safety equipment, things like that, we were able to support the students with that. We did pay students, we're rural up here in Northwest Iowa. So some of them did have to drive or figure out ride the rides bus or whatever to get to and from work. So if they were driving over 15 miles to work, we paid them mileage at the college rate, which was 46 cents a mile. And they turned that sheet in to their supervisor at work, and then they scanned it to us, and then Autumn was a coordinator and she processed that. So the students got that money. So we encouraged them to do it, even if they want to do it weekly, that was fine. So then they had gas money to do that. We didn't want to do gas cards because they can buy, pizza or whatever from there, but we want to make sure that we reimburse them for gas, and then how they did that, what they used with it after that was up to them, but they at least had gas money to go to work.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah. And you mentioned Northwest, I'm sure there's still snow on the ground up there. Carol, let's come to you. Oh my gosh, it's just crazy when you go out there. So Carol, we'll come to you for this one, and then we'll stick with you for the next one. You got a big number on there. Talk to us about that cost.
So it's a little different because our organization holistically, this is our mission, is to offer internships and work-based learning experiences. So this isn't just a standalone program that we built and offered. This is built into our organization overall. And so that cost that I wasn't quite sure how to put a cost on there. So that cost actually is more like organizationally, because we do have coaches that work with students on an individual basis. And I mean, like, our coaches are working with kids on a maximum, their caseload is 50 students. We currently serve 206 students throughout Southwest Iowa. And like I said earlier, we work with them for a very long time. On average, our students are with us for 5 years. So some of this cost includes like staff wages to work with students, our staff member that facilitates our program overall. And then we applied for the grant last year and this year, and we use the grant funding, just like Jill and Joe have said. We use it for the the wage reimbursement for business partners. We use it for transportation. Some of our students drive or can drive up to 30 miles to get to their internship because they live in rural Southwest Iowa. So we do use transportation funds for that. We also use it for tools and supplies and so forth. So we're actually, like, that number is just kind of like a ballpark, but it is all encompassing with the organization itself. And we're actually going to place more like 100 students this summer, which is just mind blowing. Like I said, we have doubled in size, and we're looking at somewhere between 60 and 70 business partners. So our business partners, they actually foot the bill for some of our students entirely. So we use the grant funding for certain business partners, but other businesses just take the interns and they pay for it themselves because they see the return on investment. This has gone well for them. So they say, yep, I want to invest in this, especially because they have career advantage at their disposal. We're there to support the student and we're there to support the business. So it's not just, hey, here's a student, go out and good luck. If we're there with what we have
Right.
learned, our best practices, our partner organizations that we work with. So maybe that explanation gives a little bit more to what we're seeing.
That does. Yeah, for sure. Great stuff. Yeah. I mean, congratulations on what you guys are going to do this summer too. Talk to us about, liability. I know all of you guys got this listed there as well, but, just anything you want to share on there real quick.
That was really challenging to learn. I'll put it that way and it's one that's kind of a little bit more nerve wracking. You want to make sure you're careful because like we've all mentioned, some of our students are not 18. In fact,
Sure.
we're placing about 100 kids and I'd say half of them are not 18. And so you have to learn behind the scenes on that and what are the liabilities and then, legalities that go around that. And so our business partners manage our liability and we are upfront with our business partners about that. And we have had a couple that have said, you know what, this might not be a good fit for us. We would love to host an 18-year-old when everything's basically clear. So, I mean, I think it goes back to my point earlier about relationships. Like you have to have these conversations up front and get on a really good page with your business partners so that they know and there's safety all around for everybody that's involved.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great explanation. Jolene, what do you think? I imagine you guys are all going to be on the same lines here, but
Yeah,
what's your
we had
thought?
actually employer expectations list. So anything that we knew or resources that they could tap into, we
Yep.
wanted to make sure we were upfront with them on that. So they read through that and the Department of Ed, I think, has a good site that the high schools have used and adopted at that level. So don't reinvent the wheel, ask for help and just know that it's there. So we can give you resources and then make it your own. Like I said, the ones that were over 18, not a problem with those younger students. We want to make sure everybody was comfortable with that.
Yeah, gotcha. Jill, thoughts?
Just that we have really found more and more employers willing to provide experiences with kids under 18, even just in the last year. They're just finding that they have the workforce need, frankly,
Yeah.
and that just building that trusting relationship that they kind of trust us as the intermediary for them, and that we know the kids and we are really trying to help make sure it's a good fit. And we wouldn't want to recommend a student that wasn't a right fit or responsible enough to take on a job that could be a reliability risk. So that trust, I think, makes a difference too.
Yeah, and you're right. I mean, we're seeing more and more employers now looking at that. So thank you for mentioning that. Okay, in the interest of time here, I don't think we're getting through all of them. I want to turn it over to Kathy for kind of closing remarks, and you guys have all had just great information. Kathy,
Yes.
how would you like to close this one out?
Yeah. Thanks, Ryan. I just definitely thanks to our guests. Again, there's so many pieces that were shared that are so important, I think, for those of you who may be already doing internships, that you could learn something, I think I want to try that, or that might work better. Such valuable pieces of information. And then also, again, to encourage those of you who are maybe thinking about this, that there are resources out there. There are people who are doing this, who are willing to help provide guidance and input to you. We'll link to some of the other resources that they mentioned on our website. I'll work on getting those up because those are great resources. And I just am fully encouraging people to take a step, even if it's like looking at placing one intern or, starting to do some groundwork for next year. So just those would be my my main comments before closing. I want to take a look here and just see if there's where can we find the earlier webcast? Okay, so I just want to answer this question that came up in chat. The 2 weeks ago, the employers should be on our website, and it should be Future Ready Iowa. And then I'm not honestly sure, this is bad. I'm going to look it up really quick. Sorry.
FutureReadyIowa.gov.
But then is it summer internships? I just
Yeah.
want to look and see how they get connected to it. But yeah, futurereadyiowa.gov. If you just Google Future Ready Iowa. But I want to see here where and I'm sorry, this is taking a second, but
Jay, you can get to it from the homepage there. You'll be able to find it.
okay. So yeah, check that out. And if you can't find it, just hit me up. Like, you can email me through Future Ready Iowa and get me. So So I think that's it, but just basically great information, great work. All the pictures that are in here have come from the summer youth internship programs that we have. So those are real examples of the amazing opportunities kids are getting and employers are making available. And I just can't say enough about how great these programs are and how many wonderful resources we have for people. So I think that's all I would say. And thanks again to Jill, Joe, and Kara. That I have seen their programs. They are fantastic. They are great resources. If you have questions, that's why their email is included. Slides will be posted too. So because we knew we wouldn't get through all the information. So there's more information for you. And just please reach out. So that's it. That's all I got, Ryan. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you to our guest. Everybody have a great
Mhm.
weekend, great summer. Thanks, guys, and good luck with your interns this summer. Can't thank you enough for making
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, thanks.
Bye. Thank you, everybody.